because they have two hearts, lungs, circulatory systems that are conjoined, I'm looking to make sure they're not developing premature high blood pressure.
Abby and Brittany Hensel, the famous conjoined twins who have never been apart, are now separated for the first time in their lives. For years, they've amazed the world with their unbreakable bond and teamwork in everything they do. How does a bond so strong face being pulled apart? Let us uncover what led to this life-changing moment and how their lives will change in ways they didn't ever imagine. When life takes a dark turn. Abby and Brittany Hensel, known worldwide as the conjoined twins who turned heads for years, are in the news again. And this time, it's not about a new job or a fun trip. They've hit a grim milestone. Their health has taken a turn, and it's a serious one. Unlike the usual day-to-day struggles they have always faced and dealt with like pros, this is a legit medical crisis that's left everyone wondering what's next. The details are still hazy, but this latest health scare is a reminder that their path has never been simple. It's clear that there are always more challenges ahead, and this one is going to test their bond in ways we can't yet imagine. Before we delve into this, it's clear that the reality is far worse than anyone could have imagined, and this won't be the only thing that will shock you. The twins, born in 1990, are officially known as dicephalic parapagus twins, which is a fancy way of saying they have two heads but share one body.
Child development or stuff with kids. Interior designing, architecture.
Abby controls the right side and the other twin controls the left. Think of everything you do with two hands. Driving, clapping, even something as simple as brushing your teeth. Now imagine doing that when one half of your body has its own brain. Crazy, right? But they managed. They even learned how to drive. Abby took care of the pedals while the other dealt with the turn signals. If that's not teamwork, then what is? Yet it's not all just impressive tricks. The health problems were always there, lurking in the background, and it seems that lurking shadow has finally stepped into the light. Not long ago, Abby got married to Josh Bowling, which gave everyone hope that maybe, just maybe, they could achieve those normal milestones. Marriage, family, all the usual stuff. But now, with this health scare, it's clear that the path is far from straightforward. Everything they fought for, privacy, a normal life, some control over their future, is once again being threatened. And for twins who have shared everything, literally everything, since birth, the idea of being separated, even temporarily, is something they're not ready for. How do you cope with being apart from someone who has been there every single moment of your life? From the very start, the twins had to fight for every bit of normal they could get. Their mom didn't even know she was carrying conjoined twins until the day they were born. Imagine that shock. The doctors tell you you've got twins, but they're connected. It's not exactly the kind of news anyone's ready for. The family even had to make the tough decision about whether or not to try to separate them, a surgery that would almost certainly have meant losing one twin. They decided against it, choosing instead to focus on giving both as normal a childhood as possible. But normal is a pretty relative term when your everyday is filled with medical checkups and constant adjustments to accommodate a shared anatomy. Despite their situation, they have done some incredible things. From getting their driver's licenses to playing volleyball and softball in school, they've spent their whole lives proving that they can do what everyone else can, just in a slightly different way. And they didn't just deal with physical challenges, they also had to put up with the constant staring, the invasive questions, and people's morbid curiosity about their lives. Through it all, they managed to maintain a sense of individuality.
Are we going down? No, we're still going up.
Abby is the more serious one, while the other twin is a little more laid back. Their parents always encouraged these differences, like a tiny act of rebellion against the fact that they shared one body. And they made it work. When they were ready to start thinking about a career, they both decided to become teachers. They went to Bethel University, got their degrees, and stepped into the classroom. Imagine being a kid and having two heads teaching you math. It's a mix of cool and strange. But their students loved them, and they brought something unique to the classroom. A perspective on life that taught kids about resilience, teamwork, and accepting differences. They're not just good at the physical coordination, they're also two very different people sharing a life. But life in a shared body means that their health is always a big question mark, one that's looming larger than ever now. Working together has always been their biggest strength, but this new health problem will test them in ways they've never faced. The fight to stay whole. Life for the twins is all about teamwork, and that extends to their health. They control different halves of their body, meaning that each twin only feels sensations on her side. If Abby hurts her arm, she feels the pain, but they both have to work together to make sure it heals. It's this kind of constant coordination that's always defined their relationship. And when it comes to medical care, it's even more complicated. They need specialists from multiple fields working together to make sure they both stay healthy. They have separate hearts, but their circulatory systems are connected in a way that means an issue for one could affect the other. It's a balancing act that requires constant vigilance, and it's exhausting just to think about. This latest health crisis is different. It's not just about the physical challenges, there's a mental and emotional toll too. Imagine never having a moment to yourself. Imagine always having someone right there, even when you just need space. The twins have found ways to give each other room, even though physical space is impossible. They're two very different people, and they've spent their lives trying to find that balance. It's not easy, and this latest challenge is putting even more pressure on that fragile balance.
With Miss Brittany and I, what does that mean about how many eyes we have?
Before we go any further, let's face it. The truth is far more complicated than anyone could have anticipated, and the hardest part is yet to come. When it comes to dating, things get even more complicated. Abby got married, and that brought a whole new set of challenges. How does that work for the other twin? It's a question that most of us can't even begin to understand, and they have managed to keep the details of their personal lives private. Impressive, considering how many people are fascinated by them. Their relationship status might make for interesting gossip, but it's not something they talk about much. They've got enough to deal with just trying to live a life that's already more complicated than most. Their careers are another area where things get tough. Teaching is a demanding job, even for people who don't have to share a body with their coworker. They have to be perfectly in sync, not just physically, but also mentally to manage a classroom. They're constantly communicating, making sure they're on the same page, and their students love them for it. But behind the scenes, it's a struggle. Standing all day, managing kids, keeping up with the physical demands, it's exhausting. And they still have to fight to be recognized as two individuals, even when it comes to getting paid. Imagine having 2 degrees, 2 certifications, and still getting one salary because you share a body. It's just another hurdle they have to overcome. The emotional and psychological challenges of their lives are intense. Most people can go for a walk, slam a door, or just take a break when they need some space. But for them, that's not an option. They're always there, always together, and as they get older, that lack of privacy is only going to get harder. They've adapted in a lot of ways, but some things are just impossible to overcome. They're going to need constant mental health support to help them cope with the challenges of living their lives. It's not just about surviving, it's about finding ways to thrive, and that's going to be tough. There's no easy way to talk about Abby and Brittany's life expectancy. Conjoined twins don't have an average lifespan. Their situation is just too unique. And with their shared organs, the stress on their bodies is something that's always there. The fact that they've made it this far is a testament to their resilience and the care they've received, but the future is uncertain. They're human, and their bodies can only take so much.
Ready, go, 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 go.
As this latest health scare unfolds, it's a reminder that nothing in their lives is guaranteed. They've always faced challenges, but this one is different. It's about survival, and that's not something anyone can take lightly. Abby and Brittany have overcome so much, but what lies ahead will push them harder than ever before. Standing strong through the storm. Abby and Brittany are once again showing the world what true strength looks like. They're facing an uncertain future, but they're doing it together, just as they always have. Their story is far from over, and whatever comes next, they're going to face it with the same grace and determination that they've shown throughout their lives. Their path is a powerful reminder of what the human spirit can endure. It's a reminder that no matter what challenges we face, we have the ability to overcome them. And Abby and Brittany have shown us all that even when the odds are stacked against you, it's still possible to live a life that's full of love, connection, and hope. The ultimate test is now. Their bodies are changing, aging, and frankly, not cooperating the way they used to. It's hard enough for most of us to deal with one body getting older. Now imagine having to coordinate every movement with someone else when your body just doesn't work like it used to. The patience they're going to need is off the charts, and it's not fair. But fairness has never been a part of Abby and Brittany's story. It's always been about resilience, and now, more than ever, they're going to need every ounce of it. Their medical care is like trying to fix a car with two steering wheels. Every adjustment affects both drivers. And it's not just a quick trip to the doctor. It's specialists, custom treatments, teams of doctors trying to figure out what works.
Above the waist, they seem to function independently, and yet they can clap, even though one controls one arm and the other controls the other.
The energy they've got to put into just staying healthy is mind-boggling. And then there's their career. Teaching is no joke, especially when you're trying to manage a classroom and keep everything coordinated. And for Abby and Brittany, it's even more draining. Standing all day, trying to keep up with energetic kids, dealing with the demands of teaching, it's exhausting. And let's not even talk about the pay. You'd think two brains would mean two salaries, but bureaucracy doesn't work like that. It's more like, you share a body, so here's one paycheck. They're always having to prove themselves, even when they've already done more than most of us could ever imagine. And emotionally, the strain is real. Imagine being with someone every second of every day, never having a break, never having privacy. It's cute in theory, but the reality is so much tougher. And as they get older, that's only going to get more challenging. They're not invincible. They're human, and their health, both physical and mental, needs attention. They're going to need support, and a lot of it. It's not about surviving anymore. It's about finding ways to truly live. And that's the hardest part of all. Abby and Brittany have been defying the odds since day one, but now, as their bodies age, they're facing a new kind of challenge. How do you keep going when everything is pushing back against you? The path isn't over. They're still here, still fighting, still showing the world what real strength looks like. And whatever happens next, we know one thing for sure. Abby and Brittany aren't going down without a fight.
Don't put that stuff on mine, Cody. I don't want that on there.
Okay.
They've got each other, and as long as that's true, they're not giving up. Join us as we continue to follow their story. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Abby and Brittany's story is far from finished. What's next for these incredible women? Will their bond be enough to face the challenges ahead? Stories of other conjoined twins show both heartbreak and hope, reminding us how strong people can truly be. Bonds that defined history. Conjoined twins have always drawn attention from people around the world. It's not just about how their bodies are physically linked, but also about their extraordinary lives that fascinate everyone. While many people think about Abby and Brittany Hensel when conjoined twins are mentioned, they are far from the only ones who have made an impact in history. There have been other pairs whose lives have been just as remarkable, if not more. Let's start with Chang and Ing Bunker. They were born way back in 1811 in a place called Siam, which is now known as Thailand. These two are probably the most famous conjoined twins of all time. They were connected at the chest by a piece of cartilage, and a British merchant found them, eventually bringing them to the United States in 1829. They were pretty much shown off like an exhibit, with people paying to see them move and live together in sync. But their story goes beyond being just a show. They moved to North Carolina in 1839 and became citizens. Believe it or not, they even married, both of them to sisters named Adelaide and Sarah Yates. Together, they had a staggering 21 children. Their lives were like a big middle finger to society's expectations back then, and because of them, the term Siamese twins was coined. These guys didn't just live, they thrived. Next, there's Lori and George Chappelle. Born in 1961 in Pennsylvania, these twins were joined at the head, a condition called craniopagus. Even though they shared some parts of their brains, they managed to live very different lives. George became a country music artist using the stage name Reba Chappell, while Lori worked a regular job in hospital laundry. But their story took an even more unexpected turn in 2007 when George transitioned to male, making them the first conjoined twins to identify as different genders. Imagine the complexities of identity they had to navigate. One body, two people, with their own dreams and even gender identities. They showed the world that identity is much deeper than just appearances. Then there were Ronnie and Donnie Gaillon, born in 1951 in Ohio. These two were connected at the abdomen and held the record for being the longest-living conjoined twins, passing away in 2020 at the age of 68. They started their lives in sideshows where they were part of traveling attractions. But later they retired to their hometown to live a quieter life. Despite the challenges they faced, they lived for nearly 70 years, giving people a glimpse into what resilience truly looks like when you're living such a unique life.
'Cause our legs quit moving, we was weak as a kitten.
Daisy and Violet Hilton were another famous pair born in 1908 in England. They were joined at the pelvis, a type called pygopagus. Their story is heartbreaking in many ways. Their mother sold them to a woman who trained them to become performers. They ended up becoming vaudeville stars in the United States, playing instruments and entertaining large crowds. Their musical talents made them famous, but their lives were far from glamorous behind the scenes. They faced betrayal, control, and a lot of hardship. The story of Daisy and Violet is one of triumph and tragedy all mixed together as they struggled to have control over their own lives while living under a spotlight they never chose. Masha and Dasha Krivoshlyapova, born in 1950 in the Soviet Union, were joined in a way that made them share three legs. From the beginning, their lives were rough. They were taken from their mother and studied by doctors. Their childhood was spent in institutions where they were treated more like subjects than children. Despite all this, they developed unique personalities and had their own interests. Their story highlights how different cultures and political systems can affect the treatment of conjoined twins. They weren't just surviving, they were trying to carve out their own individuality in a system that didn't see them as fully human. Another pair of conjoined twins that fascinated many people were Ganga and Jamuna Mondal. They were born in India around 1970 and were joined at the pelvis too. Because of how they looked, they became known as the Spider Sisters. They worked in traveling shows for most of their lives, which might sound similar to other stories of conjoined twins. But in recent years, their story took a happier turn. They found love and companionship, showing that even in a world that often sees them as different, they could find someone who loves them for who they are. Their story challenges the idea that conjoined twins can't live full and happy lives. When you hear these stories, you realize that the experiences of conjoined twins are as varied as any other group of people. Some live their lives in the public eye, others fought for independence, and some simply wanted to live quiet lives away from the spotlight. But they all shared something beyond their physical connection, a resilience that many of us could never understand. Their lives force us to rethink our ideas of identity, connection, and what it means to be normal. Is separating Abby and Brittany a medical necessity, or could it have been avoided entirely? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.